Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going deep, deep into a topic that just, I don't know, it never stops fascinating me. Identity.
Ooh, good one.
Like, how do we even shape who we are? Then how do we show that to the world? And there's that whole other side, the parts we maybe try to hide, right?
That's true. It really is this like back and forth between what's going on inside us and the image we're putting out there.
Exactly. And to really get into it, our source material today is, well, it's kind of like a conversation itself. It's a really thoughtful one that goes into some deep philosophical ideas about, how we present ourselves, personal growth, that sort of thing. And there's some really interesting stuff pulled in from Eastern philosophies.
Interesting.
It really got me thinking about, all the ways we create our identity, the stuff we're aware of, and the stuff that's kind of under the surface.
One of the core ideas the source brings up is this thing called, get this, the trifecta of self.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Basically, it's saying that how we look, the things we do, and then our mindset. It all comes together to make this unique, like a fingerprint of who we are.
I love that fingerprint image. It really gets across how unique and like multi-layered each person is. And the source even makes this comparison. It's like picking ingredients for a dish,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I remember that. So like,
Yeah.
if you just use your basic everyday stuff, your meal's gonna be pretty average. But if you go for those like rare ingredients, the bold flavors, you can make something really special and memorable.
Totally. So thinking about that in terms of our lives, it makes you wonder, how much thought do we actually put into those three pieces of ourselves? The looks, the actions, the mindset.
Right? Are we super focused on one, like maybe just how we look, or are we really consciously trying to shape all three?
It's a good question for everyone listening too. What are your dominant ingredients in your like personal recipe for how you present yourself?
Hmm, food for thought.
Yeah.
And then things get even more interesting.
Lay it on me.
The source talks about how much our nonverbal cues, like just our appearance, what we're doing, actually tell people about us.
Even when we're not saying anything.
Exactly. It's like we're always sending signals, whether we mean to or not.
It's true. Think about it like art styles, right? Impressionism, Cubism, what they could all be showing the same thing, like a bowl of fruit.
But the style totally changes how you see that fruit.
And how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder how much of how we present ourselves is on purpose versus just like naturally happening. What style are we all projecting without even realizing it?
That's something I hope our listener keeps in mind as we go deeper. Now, this source is cool because it doesn't just break down how we present ourselves. It tries to give some actual advice on how to cultivate, like, a better self.
I like that. Practical stuff.
Yeah, 7 specific steps, in fact. But don't worry, we're not going to bore you with just lifting them off.
Right. We got to dig in.
Exactly. So since you love learning, always expanding your knowledge,
Guilty as charged.
I think this one, learning new things, it just fits, right?
It totally feeds that desire to grow, to understand more. For me personally, and this is just me, the one that really hit home was stepping out of your comfort zone.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's like pushing ourselves past what's familiar, which is hard, but good hard.
It is hard. I remember this time, and this is going to sound kind of random, but I decided to take a pottery class.
Okay. Unexpected.
I know, right? Never consider myself artsy or anything. But you know what? I learned so much about patience
Yeah.
and embracing those little imperfections.
It's the imperfections that make it unique, though, right?
Exactly. And I'm curious, you said that step resonated with you.
Oh, yeah. Reminds me of the time. Well, maybe that's a story for another day. But the point is, right, these steps the source gives us, they're not just some abstract ideas. They can lead to real, genuine growth.
Love that. Now, I want to shift gears a bit. Get into one of the most intriguing parts of this whole source material, Hidden Dragons and Tigers. It's drawing on these Eastern philosophies about the strategic advantage of, well, basically hiding your strength.
Whoa. Okay. I am here for this. Like embodying that quiet power.
Yes, it's not about being sneaky. It's more about, understanding subtlety, knowing when to reveal your full hand.
Okay, so it's strategic. The source, I remember, it argues there's several upsides to this approach. First, it lets you adapt. You change how you're playing the game based on the situation, right? Then there's the safety aspect. You're not putting all your cards on the table immediately.
Makes you less of a target, maybe.
And then the best part, the element of surprise. You choose when to unleash your full strength.
Exactly. It's like in those movies, you've got the quiet, unassuming character who turns out to be like a total badass.
Oh, 100%. Or, the athlete who seems all chill, then bam, explodes with energy when the game's on.
Perfect examples. Makes you
Yeah.
think, Haven't we all played that hidden dragon role sometime? Even in little ways?
Right. Maybe downplayed a skill so you wouldn't get stuck with extra work.
Oh, totally guilty of that.
Or like surprise someone with how much you know about a random topic.
I love doing that.
Hmm.
But the source doesn't stop there. It goes into the potential downsides, the limits of this whole approach.
Okay, so it's not all L's sunshine and roses. I'm very curious about that. But I think that's a great place to pause, let everyone soak in what we've talked about so far.
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground. And there's more to uncover, so stay tuned. So we were talking about this whole hidden strength thing and how there could be downsides to it.
Yeah, you left us hanging a bit there.
Right. Well, the source is careful to point out, there are limits to how much we can, or even should, hide.
Makes sense. I mean, it seems like finding that balance between like revealing and concealing, that could be tricky, right?
It is. It is. The source warns us, overdoing this whole hidden strength thing, it can actually hurt relationships.
Oof. Yeah.
And it can mess with our own sense of being genuine, authentic.
It's like putting on a mask for too long.
Exactly. It gets hard to tell where the mask ends and the real person begins.
So it's not about being fake, but we also can't hide forever.
Right. And we can't always hide either.
What do you mean?
The source really emphasizes this. Even if we think we're hiding something, a really perceptive person, they're going to pick up on it.
Like they see right through us.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Our body language, the way we act consistently, our habits, it all betrays us, even if we don't want it to.
So it's like there's this whole other level of communication going on beyond words.
Exactly.
Mm.
And the more observant someone is, the better they are at reading those signals.
Okay, I'm getting a little self-conscious now.
Think of it like a detective at a crime scene.
Oh, okay, I like this.
They might not have all the pieces of the puzzle at first, but they look for clues, patterns. Eventually, they figure out what really happened.
So even if we think we're hiding something well,
Someone might be piecing together the truth.
makes you think twice. So what's the takeaway here? Should we just give up on ever being strategic?
No, not at all. The source is just reminding us that, ultimately, genuine connection, being our true selves, that's what matters most.
I feel like this ties back to that trifecta of self from earlier, the looks, actions, mindset.
Ah, you got it. You remember how each of those things adds to our unique fingerprint?
Yeah, but how does that connect to being authentic?
Well, it's not just about putting on a certain image or acting a certain way.
There's got to be more to it.
They're eyes. It's about making sure those outer expressions, how we look, what we do, line up with our inner world.
You mean our thoughts, beliefs, values?
All of that. Authenticity isn't about trying to be someone else. It's about becoming more aware of who we are at our core.
And then letting that shine through.
Exactly. It's not about being perfect either. It's more like embracing all of it. The good, the bad, the complex stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
So how do we even do that? Cultivate a more authentic self, I mean.
Well, funny you should ask. Remember those 7 steps for cultivating a better self?
Yeah, we're going to dig into those.
Let's do it. Especially for our listener here, someone who loves learning and growing.
Pick out the best ones for us.
Okay, so knowing yourself. That's got to be step 1.
Makes sense. Got to know yourself before you can show yourself.
Right. It's about introspection, figuring out your values, what drives you, your strengths and weaknesses.
No hiding from the tough stuff.
No. And once you've got that down, there's living your values.
Okay, so putting it into action.
Exactly. Your actions have to match what you believe in, otherwise you're out of sync.
Walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Love it. And then, this one's crucial, embracing vulnerability.
That one's hard.
I know, right? It's about letting go of the need to be perfect, letting people see our flaws.
Why is that important for being authentic?
Because it's real.
Okay.
What lets us connect with others on a deeper level.
I'm starting to get it. It's those imperfections that make us human, relatable.
You got it. Now, all this is great, but how do we know if we're actually being authentic?
It does seem kind of subjective.
It is. But one way to check is pay attention to how you feel. When you're being genuine, there's a sense of ease, like everything's aligned.
Like you're putting on an act.
Nope. If it feels like you're always performing, trying to fit into a box, that's a sign to do some more inner work.
Okay, good advice. And I remember the source ends on this really thought-provoking note.
Oh, yeah, I love this part.
It says, to really understand if we're authentic, imagine how we look through the eyes of someone who's really observant.
Mind blown. Right.
Kinda. Explain it to me.
Okay, imagine this person. They can see past all the surface stuff, the words we choose, how we act, those masks we wear.
Like they see the real us.
They see the patterns, the consistent stuff that reveals our true nature,
Yeah.
even the stuff we're not aware of.
Whoa! It's like having this, like, super honest mirror held up to us.
Powerful, right. So here's the question.
Hmm.
What hidden thing, maybe a strength you never noticed, what would that person see in you?
That's deep. It's like we're often more than we think we are.
Exactly. We might have talents, quirks, all sorts of stuff that we've downplayed or ignored.
And someone else can see it plain as day.
It makes you wonder, should we all have someone like that in our lives?
Someone to give us that honest feedback.
It could be really valuable. The source talks about how relationships shape who we are. They help us uncover those hidden parts.
It's like having a team of identity detectives helping us out.
Love it. So as we wrap up this part, think about that. Who in your life sees you most clearly? What have they noticed about you that you maybe haven't?
Okay, so we've been on this journey, right? Thinking about how we'd look through the eyes of someone who's really good at observing people.
It's like they can see things about us that we missed.
Exactly. And it made me think about times when, someone's pointed out a strength, a talent, something that I hadn't even realized about myself.
It's almost like they've seen this hidden potential.
Yeah.
And they're bringing it to light.
Yeah. Like, hey, look at this awesome part of yourself that you're totally overlooking.
It can be a real game changer, those moments. They help us become more, well, authentically ourselves.
And tap into stuff we didn't know we had. But here's the thing, the source says we don't have to rely on other people for this.
We can develop that observant eye ourselves.
Exactly. Through things like, mindfulness, self-reflection.
So taking the time to really look inward.
Yeah. It's not just about getting validation from others. It's about building this deeper awareness of our own thoughts, feelings, the whole package.
And as we get better at that, we start to see ourselves more clearly. The good, the bad, everything.
It's like we become our own identity detectives.
Okay, but through this whole deep dive, we've been talking about authenticity a lot.
Right. It's kind of the core concept here.
But it can feel kind of vague, like what
Ah.
does it actually mean to be authentic?
That's the million-dollar question, right? The source, it doesn't give us one simple answer. It's more like it's a process, this ongoing journey.
So it's not like you reach peak authenticity and you're done. Nope. It's about constantly discovering who you are, making sure you're living in line with that.
It's about the striving, the growing.
And it's not always easy, let me tell you. Sometimes you got to face some hard truths about yourself, challenge your own beliefs.
It can get uncomfortable.
For sure. It's about stepping outside that comfort zone, embracing everything that makes us, well, us.
Flaws and all. But it's not about being perfect, right? I feel like that's important to say.
Absolutely. Authenticity isn't about pleasing everybody or fitting into some mold.
It's about owning our individuality, expressing ourselves in a way that feels real, true to what we believe in.
You nailed it. And as we go through this whole complex process, it helps to have some guiding principles.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, first off, self-compassion. Got to be kind to ourselves, especially when we mess up.
It's so easy to beat ourselves up, especially when we're trying to grow.
But that just holds us back. Then there's focusing on those values we were talking about.
Making sure our actions match what we believe in them.
Creates a sense of integrity, And lastly, got to have curiosity. Authenticity isn't a finish line. It's a path, always evolving.
So being open to new experiences, new ways of thinking.
Exactly. Embrace the unknown. Let yourself grow. This has been such a rich conversation. We've covered so much.
From the looks, actions, mindset, to those hidden strengths, embracing vulnerability.
It's been a real deep dive, for sure. And like with any dive, the real test is what we do with what we found.
So to wrap things up, I want to leave everyone with this thought. If you could ask that super observant person one question about your authentic self, what would it be?
Ooh, that's good. I encourage everyone to really sit with that question.
Yeah.
And talk to the people you trust. Have those honest conversations.
Because it's in those moments when we're open and vulnerable that we often discover the most amazing things about ourselves.
Absolutely. Keep exploring. Keep asking those tough questions. Embrace all the beautiful complexity of who you are. It's a journey worth taking.
Until next time, everyone.